All right, everybody, welcome back to Beans No Ball, and welcome to the Week 2 recap. So a lot of great games, a lot of big surprises to get into here. So without any further ado, let's just get right into it, Christian.
Yeah, so another great week of football. Week 2, going a little quick, but obviously savoring the best we can. So obviously let's kick it off with Thursday nighter. I guess it was pretty interesting game towards the end. The Vikings and the Eagles. Everyone really expected the Eagles to really probably blow out these Vikings, but the Vikings put up a fight. I mean, Jalen Hurts, he looked a little iffy in the first half with the picks, trading picks, the turnovers between both teams. Justin Jefferson again with this Minnesota offense, he's going off. Him and Kirk Cousins are going off. I mean, Kirk's on pace to have a historic season, about 5,000 yards and 51 touchdowns total. Justin Jefferson's on pace to probably hit 2,000 yards, but obviously with the inconsistency of these Minnesota Vikings this season, it just doesn't look the way it's going with their way. The Philadelphia Eagles, yes, they're 2-0. Yes, everything's going right for them, but there's a lot of flaws with what's going on. Jalen Hurts, he's having struggles with the passing game. He had some good passes against Minnesota to Devonta. You saw AJ Brown having his little fit on the sidelines later in the game, but obviously he got his touches. Devonta Smith is looking his way to probably become receiver 1, so good for him. The defense, like I said before, those flaws, they could hit him in the long run once they start playing the higher teams up there.
Yeah, so moving on to the Packers-Falcons, this was a pretty big surprise to some. After we saw, that great performance by Jordan Love, maybe that hype train's kind of starting to die down. I mean, he really kind of started coming back down to earth. I mean, just pretty respectable numbers to say the least, sure, but it wasn't enough to get the job done, especially getting into the fourth quarter. But I mean, can't do much when your defense just has an all-out collapse. I believe they were up 12 going into the fourth quarter, and Falcons just slowly chipped away. I mean, talk about Desmond Ridder, 237 and a touchdown. So he's kind of bringing himself into the conversation of, I mean, maybe he will be the guy in Atlanta after all. Maybe they won't need to look for another guy if he keeps this up. The Falcons are obviously really starting to cement themselves. Maybe they can really compete for the NFC South. I mean, we know how mediocre it is. Anyone can really get into it. So we'll see if this really will be an opportunity for them. And the biggest thing for me, Bijan Robinson, he just stays being phenomenal. I mean, we see with 19 carries and 124 yards, didn't get into the end zone this weekend, but he's still just really showing, I mean, why he was drafted so high as a running back, and just time to wait and see more what production he can keep giving.
Yeah, and then obviously moving on to another pretty dismantling game, the Raiders and the Bills. This was probably going to go two different ways, especially looking at how the Bills played last week against the Jets. But it was a blowout against these Raiders team. I mean, it was a pretty close. It was a tie game first quarter. Then after that, Bills they put on a show. They got their stuff together and they blew out these Raiders out of the water. And in the second half, Raiders couldn't do anything. They went completely scoreless in the second half. Josh Allen and Gabe Davis had a pretty nice connection. It's pretty good. Stephon Diggs went a little quiet, still got about 60 yards, so not bad for him. The defense of the Bills stepped up a bit against this Raiders team. I mean, I would have expected them to beat this Raiders team. Yes, they did get the win. They did get a win last week, but I mean, looking at this team against the Bills, you would assume the Bills would beat them, and obviously they did. Josh Allen looked way better than he did against the Jets. He looked great. His connections, he was throwing his throws properly to the receivers, wasn't throwing to tight coverage like he was doing against the Jets. The O-line, slight improvement from the Jets, still a little pressure here and there. Jared Cook, really great for him. Really looking as a good back for the Buffalo Bills defense. The offense. And I mean, looking at this Raiders team, sure, it is still early in the season. Yes, I do have it missing playoffs. I still have it winning a couple more games here and there, but still lots of flaws with this team.
So moving on to the Ravens and Bengals, I mean, what can you say? I think it's slowly starting to become time to really hit the panic button with this Bengals team. I mean, sure, say what you want. Personally, I don't care about all the talk about how they're great at coming back from 0-2. Right now, it really looks a lot different. In recent times, when they've made these 0-2 comebacks, we've seen how they play close games. You can tell they're really fighting. You can tell what they're capable of in those games. These two games recently, I mean, we see absolute blow up by the Browns, and now this game. I mean, sure, it looks close on paper, but it really wasn't close overall. I mean, we see Lamar Jackson finally came into his own with 237 yards and 2 touchdowns for himself. Just really, I mean, really cemented themselves back as they're probably edging themselves to go back over the Bengals in this division. And I mean, if Zach Taylor and the rest of this team doesn't wake up, they're gonna start falling back down the standings. Because I mean, after we saw this Monday night game, there's probably more and more teams kind of starting to pick up in the AFC North.
Yeah, and then moving on to probably the third leg of the week, the Seahawks and Lions. Once again, back-to-back games. Second year in a row. Second year in a row. These teams playing. It was a pretty great game. I mean, it was pretty close in the second half. It was only a one-possession game with Lions leading by a touchdown. But Geno Smith got the job done where it needs to get done. We saw he couldn't do it against the Rams last week. That's really the thing he was doing. He wasn't clutch against the Rams on a team that's supposed to be rebuilding. And then looking at the Seahawks defense, I mean, realistically, both defense obviously, had their flaws since it was a pretty high-scoring game. Looking at Geno Smith, I still have him with the playoffs, but looking at the Lions team with Jared Goff, he didn't have a bad game, Jared Goff. Obviously, his streak ended with most consecutive passes without an INT. It was bound to happen soon. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown, the Lions' number one receiver, he still got the 100 yards, but obviously it wasn't enough. And then looking at this overtime matchup, Seahawks, Geno Smith got it done. Overtime was what it got it. They got to the enemy territory. It's so quick. But Tyler Lockett, obviously living fossil, as you may say, but obviously he is a Seahawks. He's one, I guess, for Seahawks fans, you'll consider him a legend for the team. But obviously getting that overtime win for the Seahawks, really big deal for them.
Yeah, so we'll move on to another overtime game. We really got an exciting early window this one, and we got the Chargers and Titans. This one, obviously, for the both of us, was a big surprise, and honestly, for a lot of football fans. I mean, we see the Chargers offense. I mean, what more can they really do? We see Justin Herbert, 305 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, say what you want about the Chargers, none of this is on him. He is really playing to all his ability. He can only do so much. When you see the greatness of this Charger defense really being held back by how poor this defense is, and we know the names they've been bringing in, Khalil Mack and just I mean, obviously he was one of the big pieces as of last year, but no progress has been made, and we can see this here against a Titans team that both of us really expected to struggle, and look how good they played them here. Obviously, it came down to a game-winning field goal by Nick Folk, but it's also kind of time to start seeing some worry for the Chargers. Maybe you can expect them to make some moves. Maybe Brian Burns, if they're really going to be more of a trying to get aggressive and really push for the playoffs, as I would hope them to. But it's all just time to wait and see for the Chargers.
Obviously moving on from that, another disastrous game, the Bears and the Buccaneers. This game is exactly how I expected it to be. Justin Fields, I think it's time for Bears fans and fans all over the league to start questioning Justin Fields' ability. Sure, yes, he gets the Bears in the game with his rushing power, and always getting those long TD runs. But when his passing comes into play, that's really his biggest flaw. We saw with last season. He didn't have no weapons. That's why he really couldn't pass. Always running for his life. No online. This season, already 2 games in, he has DJ Moore, who's obviously a really good receiver, and obviously he's been utilizing him now. But we still have to question his throwing ability. This is really his problem that Justin Fields really can't overcome. He's not improving. I think it's safe to say that, this is probably, a really bad pick for the Bears looking at this now. Obviously, with this Bears defense, lots of flaws. I mean, their D-line is supposed to be okay, but there's just something going on with there. I mean, when the defense, does great, and obviously with the offense, if Justin Fields can't capitalize that, the Bears are not going to go anywhere this season. And as for the Buccaneers, they're looking good 2-0. I wouldn't be too hyped about the Buccaneers just yet. We'll go over that in the predictions with, our takes. But obviously, me and you, we have everything about Baker Mayfield. We love seeing him succeed. Really, the thing that's really going to take this Buccaneers far, and that's if they go far, is this connection with Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans.
Yeah, so we'll move on to a really, really highly anticipated game. I know you highlighted this one, Christian, the Chiefs and the Jaguars. Talked about it. It was um another playoff rematch, and honestly, it was pretty underwhelming, all things considered. A 17-9 game. I mean, defenses really showed out, which is obviously really good. We obviously we both don't expect that from the Chiefs, but it was great to see for them. But as for these Chiefs, the biggest key thing here was the return of Kelsey and Chris Jones, and their impact was felt right away. Obviously, Mahomes was really getting the ball to him as much as he could, and really nice touchdown in the red zone, which he's back, and you can see how instrumental he is to this offense after seeing last week against the Lions how much they struggled, and we see he's pretty much the cornerstone to this offense. And as for the Jaguars, I mean, it was a pretty good game nonetheless. I mean, to hold the Chiefs offense to 17 points is no small feat, but I think a key thing here that maybe not a lot of people are really looking at is the struggles that Lawrence and Ridley were having to keep themselves in bounds in the red zone. I mean, I believe it was 3 touchdowns that they could have had, but Ridley kept running out of bounds, and he obviously he tried toe tapping it, but he wasn't in. It just it hurt them in the long run. That's 3 touchdowns that they could have had. But I mean, it's just a matter of communications for them too, and obviously for Ridley knowing where he is, Lawrence knowing when to throw the ball. But regardless, I wouldn't be too worried about the Jaguars with the game here. I mean, they're 1-1. It was a great showing for both teams, and it's a lot of good moving forward for both of them.
Yeah, now moving on to the letdown rookie showdown, the Colts and the Texans. It was a nice head-to-head rookie match between C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson. It was looking like a pretty close game. After the first quarter, it was just a 7-point game with Colts leading. Then obviously Anthony Richardson scoring a rush TD, which obviously concluded him to be out for the remainder of the game with a concussion, and which then led Gardner Minshew to come in for the remainder of the game, which led them to the victory. This was a nice win for the Colts. I mean, looking at Anthony Richardson, he was looking his way to prove everyone wrong, saying, he was a guy coming out from Florida State. Everyone was saying that, he's gonna be a bust, he's not capable of being a quarterback. Just looking to prove everyone wrong. I know how we had our positive takes about Anthony Richardson from our offseason, from our before the season video, and he had some bright spots. He was looking good. Colts looked okay. Defense, offense was looking there. Had some close games these past 2 weeks, but week 2 is where they really got it done. And then CJ Stroud's been having so far a really good 2 games, let alone even though being 0-2 with that horrible O-line and just really having no good weapons around him, he's doing pretty well. And it sucks to see, since he had a lot of hype coming out after being drafted for the Texans, but it's just not looking the best for this team still. And as for the Colts, still a long season for them, so Gardner Minshew, it's either a hit or miss for him, and time is still yet to tell with Anthony Richardson's return.
All right, so I'm not gonna yap too much, but you're just gonna have to sit around and hear me yap a bit about this game. I mean, right off the bat, I'm really proud of this effort. So I mean, I'm not gonna rant about this. I mean, I'm happy with the result. First and foremost, we were counted out even despite how much we showed last week. But we should have been taken more seriously for this game. But I'll take it. I mean, love being the underdog regardless. But first and foremost, Puka, man. I mean, he is at least for me, my early rookie of the year candidate. I mean, the favorite easily. I mean, we see the numbers he's been putting up. I mean, just on Sunday, 15 receptions and 147 yards. He's the first rookie wide receiver to get 10 receptions and 100 yards in his first 2 starts. And with 25 receptions, he broke the record for the most for the first two games, which the prior record was 19. So I mean, it's just looking just great for him. I'm really excited to see how much more he can grow and how much he can keep this consistency. As for a little more of the negative, I mean, it was these stupid turnovers that really made the difference overall. I mean, we see the tip by Kyren Williams that, I mean, he just missed it. I mean, he wanted to turn away too quick to run upfield, and he just fumbled with the ball and tipped it right into the Niners' hands. which he was having just a great game. I mean, the running game was looking great for him, but I mean, just a real silly mistake with that, and it really cost us. And as for Stafford, kind of showing flashes of what he did last year, it's just a really ugly pass to give him the second interception, and it's two silly mistakes that if it wasn't for that, we really would have been back in the game, and honestly probably would have won this game. Because to me, Niners didn't force any of it. It was just unforced errors. Niners defense really wasn't anything special, at least in my opinion, from what I've been seeing. It's just really, really up to how we responded to it. And I mean, for most of the game we did, but when it mattered, we didn't. The Rams defense really showed up when it mattered. That was my key thing. I mean, held them to field goals, held them to some key 3-and-outs. So I was really, really happy to see that. But the pass protection was good. Obviously, Stafford only got sacked once all game, which that was obviously a big issue in the past, and just one sack. But apart from the turnovers, my main thing was also the offense kept stalling out in the second half. I mean, they kept up great with the Niners, 17-17 at halftime, but really struggled to get more points in near the end, and it was that really hurt us. So one more thing I will say, and I know we just mentioned it just a little while ago, Van Jefferson, man, he has really been a disappointment for me. I know I kept hyping him up, saying he would probably get a breakout campaign, but the drops, the lack of production, it's really, really been tough to see. So it's getting hard to defend him, but I mean, always hold out hope for him. So we'll see what it comes for him. But regardless, I'm really satisfied with this result, and I'm really excited for what's to come for this team.
Yeah, now moving on to my game. Hopefully I don't yap that much, but this was a really great win for my Cowboys. Another great defensive masterclass from the Cowboys and the offense. Dak Prescott looked phenomenal against just very good Jets defense. Now, coming into this game, I said prior, this is not a team to sleep on. I know all the times with the Cowboys, when the teams that they're supposed to beat, they end up losing. It's happened before. It's happened with the Jets in 2019. That's what I really didn't like about the inconsistency of this team. But now looking at it, it's very different from how it was a couple years ago. The offense looks as explosive as better. We did not have Brandon Cooks since he had an MCL sprain. CD got very active though. He did cook all the secondary of the Jets, and the D-line just could not get to Dak. They did get one to the sack early game, but the O-line really stood up. Zach Martin and Tyron Smith. Although Zach Martin, he had a slight injury there and there. Hopefully he'll do okay. But the offensive line really did as well. Tony Pollard, he's running our running back run now. He's fast, elusive, but he's not what he used to be, which is big. But he started a pretty good game on the ground. The defense, probably the focal point of this whole game right here. Other than that big play Garrett Wilson did in the beginning, which made it a close game. After that, the Cowboys really capitalized on everything, keeping the Jets scoreless. This was another statement win for my Cowboys against a very, very good defense. And this is the defense that's really going to help the Jets, keep them in the run for the playoffs. Even though I do have them missing it, it all depends on Zach Wilson. I mean, the turnovers really got to Zach Wilson second half. The Cowboys were just getting to him. Micah Parsons was everywhere. Malik Hooker, Jaron Kearse, and Trayvon Diggs, they all got a pick, which is great. The defense, it's really what's going to help the Cowboys, go far into the season. And obviously, Dak Prescott, no picks once again. Everybody keeps pushing the narrative. Although, there was almost a very, very easy pick assist for Sauce Gardner over a very bad throw from Dak Prescott. Thankfully, it didn't happen. But obviously, Dak Prescott, he's getting more loose. He's a little more comfortable in the pocket with the protection he's getting. And with, actually our receivers actually opening up the pass game. That's what I really, really what I love to see. It was a great win for my Cowboys. And, I obviously expect a lot this season. Obviously, I'm not that Cowboys fan to, ramble saying this is our year. But it's looking very well for the Cowboys. And sure, say we haven't played anyone good. Jets was the team that, is good because of their defense. It just all relied on Zach Wilson. But other than that, very good overall game from the Cowboys.
Yeah, so as for the Giants and the Cardinals, man, I mean, it's a really ugly game. I can't stress that enough. I mean, sure, talk all you want. 20-point comeback. It's against the Cardinals, man. I mean, what can you really say? You're down 20-0 against the Arizona Cardinals, projected to be the worst team in the league. That says enough. I mean, I think what was it? I mean, after 40-0, now 20-0 here, start of the season down, scoring 60 points to their none. So I mean, it was just like, I mean, it's good that they got to, you know, get the win. I mean, it was a great comeback. Don't get me wrong, but when you're falling behind to a really bad team like this, it's going to be hard when you're facing actual good teams. When they had to play the Eagles, when they had to play the Niners this week, it's just, you know, when you fall back, you're not going to get those opportunities against an actual good team. Which, you know, you look at the Cardinals. I mean, you think they got to be tanking, right, after a performance like that. I mean, sure, at the start, you know, Josh Dawes was actually looking pretty good, but, you know, just that second half was really disappointing for them. Which, you know, they look more of what you expect from them. So, regardless of all that, the key thing here, I mean, we see Saquon's I believe ankle injury. It's going to be a big deal. I mean, it's a lot better than expected. Of course, he's only expected to miss 3 weeks. This could have been a lot worse. But you know, all hope is staying strong for the Giants, for Saquon to come back soon. So it's just a matter of waiting and seeing.
Okay, now moving on to the next game, which is another pretty big letdown from a team that I really expected to win. Commanders and Broncos. Just wow. I mean, Broncos had a really big lead in the first half of this game, and defense just where did it go? The offense really just disappeared. Commanders, Sam Howell and Brian Robinson, they really stepped up in the second half. I mean, Brian Robinson, obviously, you know the story with him getting shot 4 times and coming back. He had another great game. We're recording 2 touchdowns with nearly 100 yards. And then Russell Wilson, he had a good game as well. But, I mean, these Broncos team, they really choked a big lead. I mean, towards the end, Broncos, I mean, that the story of this game was that Hail Mary. The very clutch Hail Mary to possibly almost, you know, win the game. And then obviously the missed DPI for the 2-point conversion. Obviously, I know me and you talked about this earlier. Like, sure, yes, could have been DPI. Would Wilson have capitalized that? Would he have, you know, tied up the game? And obviously, we don't know. We won't know. Is there a possibility? Yes. Is there a possibility he could have? No. But obviously, the Commanders is looking great for them. But for the Broncos, it's looking like the same from last season.
Yeah, so moving into our Sunday night nightcap, we got a great divisional matchup with the Dolphins and the Patriots. A lot closer than I honestly would have expected. I mean, personally, I expected the Dolphins to really run away with this, but the Patriots really did put up a fight. Obviously, in their nice little throwbacks at the really nice look for the Patriots, of course. But into the game, it was just a great showing for Miami. I mean, obviously they got out into the early lead. What were they up 17-3 at half? But of course, Mac Jones, of all people, you know, he really started rallying them back. It was I think the main story of this was that lateral Gesicki to Cole Strange with, you know, just short, man. I really honestly thought he had it at the start. You know, it really took all the replays to really show that he was a couple inches short. Who knows what would have happened if they got that 4th down, if they would have kept driving for a touchdown, maybe get into overtime. But honestly, I wouldn't worry. I mean, personally, after, you know, last week against the Chargers and really holding on here, that defense really looking pretty solid. The Dolphins are slowly becoming my Super Bowl favorite right now. We'll see how much it develops, but they're looking really solid. And, you know, Tua, you know, maybe you can make a case for MVP if all this keeps up. So it was just a really solid game for the Dolphins.
Yeah, and obviously that concludes our Sunday slate. Now moving on to our Monday night doubleheader, starting off with a pretty overall decently game between 2 teams that are not supposed to, you know, not be at that level yet. But obviously Saints and Panthers. This was it was a close, nice defensive battle, close game between 2, obviously both flaws from offenses, and obviously Bryce Young not looking too well. Derek Carr, obviously we had our positive thing about Derek Carr finally getting competent defense, which he is. He's getting competent defense, but he had a pretty lackluster game today. Taysom Hill pretty much carried the load at the rush game, and then Chris Olave, the second year guy out of Ohio State. I had my praises for Chris Olave for being number one there, the New Orleans Saints. Obviously, had him in the Rookie of the Year last year. Obviously, short, but, you know, really high praise for Chris Olave. I mean, looking at him, he's explosive. He's really the receiver that you need. And obviously, that one juggling catch he made that kind of pretty much sealed the deal for the Saints was probably the catch of the game for him. And then obviously this Panthers, Bryce Young. I mean, yes, it is a rebuilding Panthers team. Yes, They don't have all the weapons all around. Losing DJ Moore. Yes, there's a lot of things going wrong with the Panthers, but the main thing with concern here is their offense. Their defense is good. I mean, Brian Burns, he's the leader of this defense, and obviously it sucks to see the Panthers, but we expected him to be really suck, I guess you could say. But Bryce Young, he's gonna have a tough year with this Panthers team this season.
As long as we move into the last of our Monday night doubleheader with the Browns and the Steelers, and obviously got a lot to talk about here. As for the Steelers, it's a great response to a really ugly showing against the Niners last week. Sure, Kenny Pickett didn't really do his best, but he did when it matters. We saw that really, really nice pass to Pickens. That just a great catch and go. Lots of yards after the catch for that really nice touchdown for him. And TJ Watt, man. I mean, the defense in general, really had a day. 6 sacks, the pick 6, and the scoop and score. So I mean, they basically did it all tonight against the Browns. But of course, TJ Watt, he set the Steelers franchise sack record. Big milestone for him. But obviously now into the big news overall in this game. Nick Chubb's horrific knee injury, to say the least. It was it's already been confirmed he will miss the remainder of the season. It's known that he has torn multiple ligaments. I mean, it is expected to be confirmed that he tore multiple ligaments, expected to be out. This is the same knee that he tore his PCL, MCL, and LCL in college back in Georgia in 2015. So it's already going to get even harder for the Browns moving forward without the running back one. I'm sure the backup did give them a lot of production. I believe it was a 70-yard run that almost ended up in a touchdown. But it's going to be a long road ahead. We'll see what the Browns can do with the way Watson's been playing. I mean, sure, you see the numbers, over 230 yards and a touchdown. I mean, it looks good, but you really look at the game, he really struggled. He played poorly, so we'll see if he can bounce back in the coming weeks. But it's looking like it's going to be a struggle for the Browns. But of course, that's going to wrap up our week 2 recap, and let's quickly get into our predictions, a little recap of that. And of course, Christian, this week you got the upper hand here. You went 10-6. I went 8-8. Of course, you look down on the head-to-head. You go up 3-1. You got two disagreements that went your way. So good for you. And overall, you're ahead. 18-14, 16-6 myself. So obviously, like you loved saying earlier, I got a whole lot of mid going on my end. We'll see how much I pick it up. So obviously, Christian, I'll let you get yours. We'll have your predictions on screen right now.
Obviously, have a little laugh here and there, but still in the season, who knows? But obviously, before we go in, let's talk about obviously my game with the Cowboys and the Arizona Cardinals. This is obviously expected. Cowboys are opening up as the 12.5 favorites in this game. And I mean, looking at how the Cowboys have been with past bad teams most of the time, trap teams, as you like to say, that's the term in most sports, trap teams, where it's a bad team that's expected to lose, but they end up putting it up against a team they're going up against that's supposed to win, which is pretty self-explanatory. Obviously, this is another game the Cowboys should not look down on. I mean, the Cardinals, even though they're objectively supposed to be the worst team in the NFL, they have been putting up a fight these past 2 weeks. We saw the game we put up against the Commanders. It was a close dogfight, nice game. The game against the Giants, that's the game they should have won, but obviously the big choke that led to them losing. Still almost fought the way back still, but that's the thing with the Cardinals. Josh Dobbs, he was putting on a masterclass for all we know, but then obviously ended up in a disaster class. With the Cowboys, this defense, what everyone's talking about, what I'm talking about, defense is the reason why we're going to win this game, let alone with this offense. The Cardinals defense has been, keeping them in games with Dak Prescott. Still, I don't like talking about the interception narrative. I think it was the stupidest narrative at all ever, but people keep bringing it up. Obviously, he's already getting angry about this. Obviously, interviews after the Jets game, bringing up the pick 6, bringing up the interception, this and that. He's already getting fed up with this. This is another game where the Cowboys should level out the playing field. I mean, the offense, defense, it's pretty leveled. Micah Parsons, he's gonna have a monster game against this Arizona, offensive line. Trayvon Diggs, Stephon Gilmore, Deron Bland, and then Jordan Lewis finally returned after that horrific season-ending injury last year against the Detroit Lions in October. He had a pretty good game as well, and I always had my head for Jordan Lewis since 2017. Probably one of the most my personal underrated player of my Cowboys. But obviously, this is just a game where we're supposed to win. And this shouldn't be a trap team. We've had a lot of trap teams go against our way, especially with Kellen Moore out the offensive mindset. But now when we have Schottenheimer out of the offensive minded, Mike McCarthy calling plays with Dak Prescott here and there, this should be a very easy game for my Cowboys and would be a nice start to the 3-0 season. And now, obviously, moving on to the highlight game of the week. I mean, most of these games were a little, not that big of a deal, but the game I will be highlighting is the two defeated teams, the LA Chargers and the Minnesota Vikings. Now, these are two teams that are highly, highly inconsistent. Two quarterbacks that are supposed to play higher than they're expected to. Justin Herbert got that massive contract extension this offseason, he was the highest paid player in history for quite some time before, obviously, Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts before that came, and Joe Burrow, obviously. Justin Herbert, I called the Chargers to win the past two games. They couldn't get it done. The defense, they have a lot of good players on defense. They have J.C. Jackson. They have a lot of players on that team that can help them win. Asante Samuel. It's just something it's not clicking with him. And Brandon Staley, that's what everyone's saying. That's the problem with him. His coaching is kind of like another Jason Garrett. So I kind of feel what the Chargers are going through. He starts off great and just has a downfall towards mid-game, and it just doesn't look good for them. The Chargers, they should have beat the Titans. They should have been the Titans, had a lead. They should have closed it out, but obviously the inconsistencies will make them leads them to their downfall. Same thing with the Minnesota Vikings. Kirk's having a great season so far. It's reminding me of, again, Dak Prescott from 2020. His defense let him down. Dak was supposed to have a historic season before his ankle injury. This is exactly what's going on with Kirk Cousins. He's having a great season. Him and his connection with Jay Jettis is going great. But once again, problem with both these teams, not just one or the other, with both these teams, is the inconsistency between them. The defenses, they let up too many points. Offenses can't get it done when they really need to get done. Minnesota, they look like they were having a nice comeback against the Eagles, but obviously that came up short because obviously, you got guys like Jalen Hurts on that offensive side between for the Eagles, and that is just really the defense. This is gonna be once again another high scoring game. Not as that high scoring game, but from the times they've been played, I expect a very good lengthy game from these two. The defense is really gonna put their minds into it to see what's going on for these two teams. But again, this game's gonna be a whole lot of inconsistency, and it's gonna show really which quarterbacks really at fault here.
Yeah, all right. So I'll get into my two games. So of course, to open it up, Super Bowl 56 rematch, the Rams and the Bengals. So I'm just gonna say right off front, I'm expecting the exact same result as this game. Of course, expecting my Rams to come out and really set the tone. We see, after the first 2 weeks, expectations are through the roof for me. Great showing against the Niners last week, is already outlined pretty well. One of my main things, we see the Bengals struggles, and we see how the Rams are on the rise. We see the receiving core, which people all love talking about. How Joe Burrow, with some of the best receivers in the league, isn't really able to get the job done. With how much they are struggling, I'm expecting Darian Kendrick and Jacoby Durant to really take advantage and hopefully finally get some interceptions, because we've seen our corners, our safeties really haven't gotten involved on that side of the ball. So hopefully this week we finally can get some turnovers going. As for the other side of the ball, I'm expecting Stafford to have a lot of time in the pocket. I'm expecting Kyren Williams to really have a nice big game here, because what have we really seen from the Bengals D line? Couple that with the great performance we've seen from the Rams O line, and I'm expecting Stafford to have the time to obviously give Puka Nacua a great opportunity for yet another masterclass. I'm expecting probably another another 10-100 type game for him. Hopefully Tutu Atwell can also give himself some good production himself. But not too much to say here. I just, you just see the trajectories of these two teams, and I'm really expecting the Rams to take advantage. And as for my highlight game, I'm gonna go with Denver against Miami. Two teams really heading in different directions. Of course, Denver really different from what they expected coming into this. Big storyline here: is Russ finally gonna get his redemption? Is he finally gonna get it going? Me personally, no. I mean, you see the Miami defense, how great they've looked in these past two games. Sure, they may have had a little hiccup letting the Patriots get back into the game last week, but it's still a great it's just a phenomenal defense overall. What can you say? I mean, then this is before Jalen Ramsey gets into this. We see Xavier Howard. He had a really good interception last week. Just really expect overall Russ to struggle again. It's hard to see. I know how much we both really enjoy talking about him, hoping he succeeds, but it's probably going to be another rough week for them. We'll see what how close he can keep it, but it's I'm just expecting Tua and the Dolphins to really run away with this one. But of course, that is going to wrap all of this up. That's gonna get this video basically wrapped up. So we'll let get this out pretty soon, hopefully by Wednesday afternoon, and we'll get another one out for Sunday. So we'll see you guys shortly.